Okay, so we have several questions and we're just gonna jump right into it. So the first question is, please introduce yourself and provide a brief description of your study abroad experience. So where you went, the university you went to, you know, what kind of classes you were taking, your major, what kind of housing you were staying in. Amber, do you want to start?
Sure. So I went to Nottingham University in England. I am a marketing major in business, but I studied arts and humanities there to kind of fulfill some depth credits. There were a couple different campuses at Nottingham Trent, but I lived in the city center campus in student dorms or accommodations. And yeah, it's like the 7th biggest city in England, so it's a huge, great college town, and it was amazing.
I can go next then. My name is Raine. I'm a French major, and so obviously I went to France for my study abroad. I was in a city called Reims, and I studied at that university, Université de Reims Champagne-Ardenne. I just did language intensive courses. I wanted to knock out most of my major requirements that way. And I was living in student housing as well. It's a place called Cruz, so it's just kind of like the dorms.
My name is Lauren. I did an exchange in Yerevan, Armenia. I studied international relations at the American University of Armenia, although I am a sociology major, so it's kind of didn't really go together, but we made it work here. I stayed in the student dorms, kind of behind the university. I shared an apartment with 12 other girls, which was a lot of fun to meet people. Made a lot of great connections there, and it was awesome.
Okay, so the next question is, what was your most interesting or your favorite cultural experience? Raine, do you want to take that one?
Sure, I can do that. Probably one of the most interesting things for me, this is kind of because I've only gone to school in Utah. They just gave champagne out like all the time. It didn't matter what event you went to. They're like, here's some champagne, here's some champagne. They had a student club, which was like the Association of Wine. And like the school's known for getting degrees in wine. You're in the champagne country. Lots of students there were like going to inherit their family business. They've been in the wine and champagne making industry for like hundreds of years. And so I went to a couple of wine tastings just to kind of go see what it was, bought some champagne for some buddies. And that was just really cool to me to see like how involved they were, just smelling all their little flutes and like, oh, okay, I see why this is nice. And so that was really interesting to me.
I can go. One interesting, like my favorite thing was anywhere you went, there was traditional music playing and people would always be dancing to it. And it just, I like wasn't expecting it all the time. Like I'd be going shopping at the grocery store and I'd hear the traditional music turn on and people would just like grab hands with strangers in like the aisles and like dance around. And I was like, do I join? Do I just watch? Like it was so interesting and it was so fun that like anywhere I went in town or like restaurants down the street, there was always traditional music and people dancing, and it was just like so fun to see that all the time. So
For me, it was really interesting to see how diverse England was, and diverse in a way that America, for my life, I haven't seen. Just everywhere you go, there are shops that you go in and they do not speak any English. There's people you meet, all of your friends will be from some country you've never heard of or some small province or this tiny village. And so you meet new people from different cultures who are just so willing to share what they know and what they've learned with you. And it's just such a melting pot with people with their arms open constantly. So you make friends, you learn so much about things that you never thought you'd learn. When I went to England, I didn't think I'd learn so much about Croatia or Spain or Indonesia, but I did because of all the amazing people I met there.
Super awesome. Yeah, human connection is honestly one of the coolest parts of study abroad. Okay, so our third question, what was one thing that surprised you the most about your host country? Lauren, do you want to start?
Yeah, so one thing that really surprised me, which at least growing up here, I didn't see, I mean, I saw some of it, but not a lot, was that everyone knew, like, the history of their country, like, to a T. You could ask anyone, like, oh, what is that statue? And like, oh, this is, say, like, Tigran the Great from this year, and this is what he did. And it was just, like, incredible. Like, they could answer any little specific detail, like, about their country and, like, how they came to be. And it was just way cool that, like, I didn't expect it, because here, if someone asked me, like, who's all the founding fathers, I could probably only name a couple of them. Like, I wouldn't know everything, but they just knew it, like, all down. They had it all, and they were just so proud of it. And I thought that was really cool.
One thing that's cool about Nottingham is that it's just such a different school system. So the way that they do school in England is so much different. You don't really have homework. You take 3 classes a semester and a final paper or a final exam. So a lot of the times the students, when you go to college, it's to meet people, to party, and you get a lot of work done and you learn so much in your classes. It's just a really different way of going about learning. It's so much more important to be invested in your learning rather than to just get a good GPA like it is here. And there are great things and there are harder things in England. And I just think it's really interesting how different the school systems are, because you learn so much about how different people from around the world learn.
Just kind of bouncing off with Amber there, that was very true in France. There was like no homework, and so you just kind of ended up partying and not studying a lot. But that's yeah. Probably the most interesting thing or most surprising thing for me were a lot of, I guess, French people's like weird things that they do. Like the entire town shuts down at noon and doesn't open up until 2 because everyone's on lunch. So that was really weird for me. Or they really got on me for like getting paperwork in. But then when I got there, they're like, yeah, forget the paperwork. You're fine. Just stay wherever. So I was like, what in the world? There is really weird, because my expectations for how they did things were like way up here. But when I got there, I realized that half of it actually didn't really matter. And so that was just really surprising to me.
Yeah, expectations. It's always interesting when you arrive versus what you've gotten over email beforehand, definitely. All right, next question is, what was one thing that surprised you the most about coming home after your study abroad experience? And whoever wants to take that one.
I can take that. I came home in the middle of a global pandemic, so that was very different. I found out that I was leaving 4 days before I came home, so it was really sudden, and I felt like I had less time to know that I was coming home and to emotionally prepare for it. So it felt like I really, really missed England. Even though I was home and I was with my family and I was where I knew people, I felt like I wasn't home, like I was still gonna go back to England at any time. So it's really important to emotionally just think about it, even if it is hard, and prepare yourself so that you can more easily make the transition, because so much of it is just what you think and what you experience.
Kind of thinking about this, probably one of the hardest things for me when I came home was, again, Amber addressed this, is like when you study abroad, you end up meeting a lot of people from a lot of different countries, a lot of different perspectives. And I really enjoyed that because I got to learn a lot about like weird things that I do that people are like, oh, that's not normal. And then I also got to appreciate other people's kind of weird, you know, things that they like to do, their cultural expectations, if you will. And I think I just had a super supportive group of people that I hung out with all the time. And it was really kind of hard to leave that, because when I got back, everybody was kind of the same. Like I had a lot of friends, sure, but I mean, we all kind of did the same things. And so it was hard coming back and not having so much to do that I'd never really like done before. And so that was kind of hard for me to bounce back after.
I think one thing that surprised me the most when I got home is, well, Yerevan, although it's the capital city, it's pretty small. Like I would walk everywhere, like, or maybe take a taxi, and it's about a 5-minute ride. Like it was not very spaced out. And when I got home, I was just like so overwhelmed by like how far apart things were, or like big thing was like the freeways, like those were huge. Like I was so overwhelmed driving. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna crash. Like there's so much space. Like where do I go? And it was really hard for me to adjust to being back. Like if I wanted to hang out with friends, it'd be like, all right, let's plan, like who's gonna drive us there? It's a 30-minute drive. Like it was just so weird, because I was so used to being like, oh, you want to go to the restaurant? Okay, like I'll meet you there in 5 minutes. Like it's just down the street. So that was a big like shock for me at home, is adjusting to like the distance of things again.
That distance and lack of public transit. It's a hard adjustment to come back to once you're used to it. Okay, so our next question is, what goals did you meet on your study abroad, and or what growth did you experience? So any goals met or growth experienced? Amber, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So when I went on my study abroad, I had just reached the tail end of some really intense medical experience. So my goal was really to, in the most cheesy way possible, find myself, you know, to really have some time with myself and to know who I am. And I was like, you know, if it happens, it happens. If not, whatever. But it was like, that's exactly what I was meant to do. I found friends who are now lifelong friends. I mean, we still talk every day, even though we only knew each other for a small amount of time. I got to experience living truly independent, not being able to, you know, talk to my family all the time because of the time difference, not being able to go home, not knowing anybody, completely building your own new life from complete scratch. And so you learn that you really can do anything you set your mind to, because you've done it before. You've built everything up from scratch. And now I was hoping that I could get that experience, that independence, and now I know that I can, and I feel like it's opened up so many doors for me.
So as I said, I'm a French major. I had never been to France before. And so the whole reason I went was to kind of experience more of that French culture, as well as perfect some of my language skills. I mean, I was already in a lot of the upper division language classes already. I spoke decently well, but I was definitely afraid to speak with French people. I'm going to be honest with you. And so when I got there, I was like really timid. I had a hard time speaking loud enough for people to hear me. And so just kind of going there and realizing that I could actually do it was one of the goals. I was able to learn a lot better French, speak a lot more correctly, as well as understand some of the French accents more, which was not anything that I really anticipated, but it helped. So.
Yeah, so some of the goals that I made or like achieved while I was there, like Amber and Raine mentioned, like I made a lot of connections and like gained that new perspective. Like Amber was saying, like I still talk to like the people I met there, even though like I only knew them for a couple months. I was only there for 4 months, but like I still talk to them all the time, and it's so fun to like hear what's going on in their lives and like all over the world. And I really loved gaining new perspectives. So that was like one of my big goals, was like learning like these new perspectives. This is why I took a lot of international relations classes, because I wanted to see like what people were seeing from outside of like the US, because you know sometimes there's bias in like the ways we learn. And so I really like seeing those outside perspectives and being like, oh, like this makes way more sense to me now because I've seen it from this way. And I really liked connecting with a new culture. My family originally came from Armenia, on my mom's side, and so it was really great going back and being able to like connect back to my own family and my own past, and see that the places where really I'm from. So that's some of the goals I had there that I was able to achieve.
That's awesome. I love hearing about people's growth and goals and stuff. It's awesome. Thank you for sharing. So we've got a couple more questions left. So next question is, what connections did you make on your study abroad experience? Which you guys have already talked a little bit about, but if you could expand on that more. Raine, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I can do that. So, as I said, I was with a lot of international students. I went a week before classes started because they did like a little international student welcome week. And so I met a lot of really good friends there. I keep in contact, as I said, with quite a few of them, particularly the people that lived in the same dorm as I did, because every night we'd go and like make dinner together, and then we'd just sit and chat for a few hours. Or if I heard about anything going on, it was through them. They'd say, hey, we're going to the restaurant, let's go. And so like we have a group chat. Anytime it's anybody's birthday or anything, it seems like we're on a Zoom call, seeing how everybody's doing. And I mean, we have people living in Taiwan, a couple of people in Poland, and then the rest of them were Spaniards. So, I mean, we're just kind of all over the place, and that was really nice. I keep in contact as well with a good friend of mine who actually was French. Oddly enough, his name is Pierre. I'm not going for stereotypes or anything, but I'm just saying. I'd go to his house though, like every weekend. He's a big movie guy, big film buff, and so we'd watch like 2 or 3 movies a night. I'd show up to his house at like 5 and wouldn't leave until like midnight because we just watch movies. Sometimes 2 times a week I'd show up and just watch movies at his house. And so I'll call him up sometimes and see how he's doing. But yeah, I was made a lot of good connections out there.
Yeah, I made most of the connections I made, I think, were with the other students who were doing study abroad. And there wasn't very many of us. I think there was it was a group of like 7 total. There were 3 of us from the US, which is nice. Like I can kind of go visit a little easier. Some of them, my friends. And then we had some from, there's Belgium, Tajikistan, Egypt, and I think someone's from Syria. So there was a lot of like diversity there, and where people were from, which was really fun. And yeah, it was really great to connect with them. Like Raine was saying, like we still like hop on a Zoom call and be like, hey everyone, like how's it going? And it's hard with time differences. I mean, one of my friends is a 12-hour time difference, so he's always kind of like the last to join. Or he's like, hey, it's like super late at night. But yeah, we kind of just like went and did everything together, and it was really great, like to bond and be able to like make these connections with people who are going through a similar thing as you. It's like they don't know the area, they don't know what to expect, they don't have like people they can like fall back on, really, because you're kind of like, feels like sometimes you're alone out there. So it's like, it was nice to have like that support group, which yeah, it was really great.
My experience is really close to both Raine's and Lauren's. Like, I think they touched on most of the essential stuff. But I think another thing that's really cool is that they're your family. Once you get this group. I mean, they're your family. You don't have really anybody else there. So you cook dinner together, you'll stay over at their place. It's when you're crying, that those are the people you go to, and when you're happy, those are the people who you're celebrating birthdays and anniversaries and stuff with. And so you feel like you have this entire family that just spans the globe. So I know if I ever travel to Italy or to Greece, I just hop right on over, and I'm sure we'll pick up just like nothing ever happened, because that's already what happened when we go on Zoom calls. We just say hello, and it's like nothing ever changed. No time has passed, even though it's been a while. So it's really nice to have this family.
Yeah, and those connections, so I started about 5 years ago, and I can tell you those connections do continue to last. They are for life, for sure. And yeah, it's nice to know you've got friends, you know, scattered all across the world that you can go visit someday, whenever we can do that again. So, okay, so our last question for today is, what is one piece of advice or two that you would give to students before they leave for their study abroad experience? Lauren, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I can start. I think my biggest thing would be just like researching like so much on everything. Like I would get myself excited about going by like looking up music on YouTube, or like where do the locals like to go eat? Like what are events going on like while I'm gonna be there? Like what can I go see? Like, oh, I found like this festival in like a nearby town. Like that sounds awesome. I want to go do that. I want to go see these things. Because I think one of like the scariest things of like going is like not knowing anything. Like when I like showed up, but like I didn't know where the grocery store was. Like, where do I get food? Where do I shop? What is all this stuff? Everything was written in Russian, and I was like, I can't read this. So that would be my biggest recommendation, is just like researching things, being like, oh, like look at this store nearby. Like I can go there, and like really getting yourself excited about it, so that the culture shock like in getting there is not, at least for me, it like wasn't as bad, because I kind of knew what to expect a little bit, not completely, but it helps you get an idea.
For me, I'd say it's just say yes. Of course, be careful and be knowledgeable about what people are asking you to do. But I found that some of the best experiences came from when I really didn't want to see people and I was ready to go to bed. And instead, I just said, you know what? Okay, I will go out with you guys tonight. I will go do this thing. And then suddenly it's like your favorite thing to do. You're doing it every week. It's amazing. So you really just have to, I mean, you're going there for a new experience. You're going there to experience a new culture. And you're not going to find that if you're just sitting alone in your room. You really have to go out there and, you know, grab it with your whole heart and just experience it to the best of your ability. So say yes. Let the experience take you where it takes you. Always be safe and always know where you are and what you're doing, and, you know, have buddies and friends. But do whatever and have the best time, because it will change your life forever.
So I was going to say yes as well, but Amber already went over that. So I got to think of a new thing. I think two things. The first one would be go with the flow. It seemed like when I got there, I had some expectations and things of like how I imagined things happening, and they did not happen at all like that. It was the furthest thing from my mind. And I'm like the first little bit, maybe the first week or so, I was kind of stressed, maybe a little angry because I was hungry all the time. But after I just kind of let things go, and it's just like, you know what, I'm here. We're just gonna party hardy. It worked out a lot better. Just kind of again saying yes to things that I wouldn't normally say yes to. I mean, you're on a study abroad, so you're going to be spending money. I get it. You have a budget, but you know what? Blow that budget. I'm not going to say like go into debt or anything, but like if you've put aside money to go do things, use that money to go do things. Don't worry about it. Along with that, something that I would have liked to have done more was travel a little bit while I was there. Like I popped into England for a week, and then I went to Paris like 3 or 4 times because it was only like an hour away, and just kind of bum around with some buddies that I had living there. And I would have really liked to have gone and visited the south of France. There were some castles that I wanted to see. Like that's on my bucket list now, is to go back and just kind of backpack through that area and visit those castles along the stretch of river. So I think those two things kind of go together. Like if you have money, use it to go travel, and don't worry so much about spending too much money, because I mean you can always come back and work. So yeah, those would be my advices, I guess. Seize the day.
Carpe diem. Yeah, I would agree with what you guys said. I remember on my study abroad, right before I left, somebody told me, you're going to want to sit in your room and not do things, and you're going to want to relax on the weekends, but don't do it. And so every time I was like laying on my bed being lazy, I was like, no, I can't do that. I got to go. So like you guys said, the times that were unplanned were like the best times on my study abroad. I ended up kind of being a hobo on the streets of Tokyo for a week because I didn't plan any housing, but you know what, it worked out because I was with a group of friends. We were safe. We slept on the streets, but we were safe, and it was an amazing experience. But as your study abroad advisor, yes, please be safe. But yeah, so we're coming close to the end of our session here. So if anybody have any last thoughts or things you want to throw out there before we end? Not really.
Hi, Emma. This is Lisa. We don't have any questions in the chat, so I'm
Okay.
just watching in case. We have, this has been really nice to get to know you guys and listen to your stories. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being willing to share. And, we always love hearing about your stories. It's one of our favorite parts, is hearing back from people after they come back. So thank you so much for your time. And I guess that concludes our session. So thank you. Have a good afternoon, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.